We are Humanist. How about you?
Hello, I am Giovanni Gaetani. I come from Italy, but right now I live in London since January 2017 because I work as Growth and Development Officer for the IU, International Humanist and Ethical Union. And almost 90% of people in Italy is raised as Catholic, still in 2018, and I was one of them. Indeed, I come from a really small town in the south part of Italy. Its name is Gaeta, and yes, I was raised as a Catholic. I started questioning my faith around 15, 16 years old, and what I remember is that the target of my skepticism at the beginning was just the church, not God. So I can define this first stage as the anti-clerical part. So I was questioning the Pope, the priest, the church as an institution, but I was still believing in God. And what I did, I took my Bible and I started reading from the beginning to the end, and it was a big mistake. It was a big mistake because I started to understand that there's a lot of contradictory points. So on the one hand, you have love the others, put your cheeks, and on the other side you have Sodom and Gomorrah, you have to stone adulterous women, you have homophobic sentences and stuff like this. So I said to myself, this is logically contradictory, and even if this is the word of God, I can't respect it. So this was the second part, when I defined myself as a deist agnostics. Basically, I was believing that there was some higher principle somewhere in the sky, but all religions were a fraud. This was really a mixed and confused period of my life. I was around 18 years old, and I decided to go study philosophy at university just to make my mind clear. And this was another mistake because I didn't realize that I went to a really Catholic university in Rome, and what happened is that I was looking for some courses on atheism, rationalism, but I ended up doing a lot of courses on Christian philosophies and basically everything around Catholicism. But also at that time, I kept going into this journey, started questioning also the Christian philosophers, started reading Nietzsche and Albert Camus, both are my favorite philosophers, and also Feuerbach and many other Western philosophers. What happened is that when I was around 20 years old, I think, I started defining myself atheist, not humanist, just atheist, because humanism is something that came up later. Because first, in Italy, nobody knows nor uses this word. Humanism is something that is not current in our language. Actually, we make confusion with Umanesimo, which is the Renaissance movement. So in Italy, you have to be very careful when you use the word Umanesimo. So what I did is around 22, 23 years old, I started reading more about humanist philosophers. I got in touch with the IU, and I participated to some meetings of the youth section. And then the final stage is when, at 25 years old, the day of my 25th birthday, I debaptized myself. I don't know if in other countries there's this practice, but legally in Italy you can leave the church by sending a letter to the priest, and the priest has to send you back a letter saying, okay, you are now officially out of the church. What happened is that I received another letter saying, are you really sure you want to leave religion? You have 2 weeks to think about it, and then we will consider you out of the church. So right now I'm officially excommunicated by the Catholic Church. I can't marry in church, I can't have any religious sacrament, and I'm also damned, I don't know. But I made this not because I am an angry atheist. It's for a noble cause. Let's see why. I did it because nobody asked me to be baptized when I was a kid, and so I want to claim back my autonomy. This is the first reason. The second one is that I really criticize the church as a corrupted institution. In Italy, the political power is really in the hands of the Vatican. Actually, I say Italy is the garden or the province of Italy, of the Vatican, sorry. So, this is the second reason. I also did it because there are some laws in Italy that says that if you're baptized, you are under the moral jurisdiction of the church. Of course, this is an anachronistic law, but, you know, I wanted to be sure. And finally, the most important reason is that all around the world, people is dying because they find themselves atheist. People is persecuted, discriminated against just because they are atheists, agnostics, they don't believe in God. So, if they don't have the right, the possibility to freely live religion, and if I have it, so I must. I think that, especially in Europe, we are under-evaluating the importance of the freedom that we have. We should never forget the global situation. We should always recall to ourselves that we are lucky and that we have to keep struggling, because the more we progress, the more we can help people in other regions of the world. Part of my job is this, is to help people in Latin America, Africa and Asia to develop humanist organizations, to make better policies and stuff like this. And what I'm realizing in these 2 years of work is that it's never enough. And you know, the Enlightenment told us that progress is inevitable, is something that will go on forever. This is not true. We are seeing a backlash of that ideal of the Enlightenment. We are seeing nationalism, fascism coming back. We are seeing people getting killed again for being homosexual, for being atheist, for being on the wrong religion. So I love my job because it's not only a job. Being part of the humanist movement, it's an honor and also a big burden. It's a big responsibility, because I'm here in London. I can do almost everything that I want. I can go out and declare my atheism freely, but people in India and Pakistan and Bangladesh and in many other countries can't do it. And I will tell you one example that happened really recently that made me really proud of what I'm doing. We are helping an organization in Sri Lanka. I won't tell the name because they are working incognito. We help them with a really small amount of money to hire a venue to have their General Assembly. After the General Assembly, they sent us a photo saying, "Thank you, Ayu, thank you, Giovanni." And seeing our name and my name in the other part of the world made me real proud, and it was really emotional. So, in conclusion, I'm really happy on what I'm doing, but I also feel the responsibility of doing it even better, more and more.
How is your life unchristian these days?
I'm Christian these days. Oh, wow. This is a tricky question, because the first years of my deconversion, it was really hard, because people still look at me in a weird way. When you say in Italy I'm an atheist, they always think, oh, you are that kind of crazy person. So, talking about the personal aspect of my religious life when I was still a Christian, I can say that I was really lucky in some senses, because my family wasn't a strict Catholic one. So I just remember that around my 12 years of life, my mother got really into religion, more than usual. And so I remember that me and my sister, we were going to church every Sunday because we had to go to church. And this was maybe the most intense part of my life in terms of religion. I remember that my first confession was really traumatic because I did it with the bishop in person, and it was really like in a dark room, and he was saying to me, "Are you committing bad things, thinking about sexual things?" And I was completely shocked, and I admitted everything, and then I made 5 prayers and everything went away. But going back to my family, the strange thing is that after 5, 6, 10 years, the situation is upside down, because before I was the only one criticizing religion and declaring himself atheist. Then right now basically we are all atheists. So my sister in particular is open about it, but my mother and my father as well, they are on my same page. Because when you start thinking about how powerful the church is in Italy, and when you start realizing how religion is used as a weapon to discriminate people, you start questioning yourself in your faith. Because the generations before mine were doing it by heart, by tradition. They weren't questioning because this was the right way to do it, and that's it. But I remember that at school I started reading people like Dostoevsky, or philosophers like Nietzsche again, and Locke, John Stuart Mill, one of my favorites as well. And when you realize that it is possible to criticize religion, you understand that it's not the only possible point of view, it's not the only possible worldview. So that's why I think that studying religions with the S, all the religions, it's the best way to become an atheist. So that's why I'm personally in favor of teaching religion in school, as long as it is religions, history of religions. So in Italy instead we have just the teaching of the Catholic doctrine, which is the totally opposite.